I'm Ken Crow, and welcome to McClinkencog's Toy Shop. Hey, Mike and wife. Mike, wife?
Vicki.
Vicki. Hey, here, I'd like to give you a tour of what I got to work on. This is a marionette body that I designed on a computer, and computer-generated hands, head, and feet, and did all the woodwork in my home shop and used notebook covers to make the joints. But this pixel for pixel is this character.
That's amazing. And how's it grown? How do you reproduce
the rapid prototyper grows it like 1/1000th of an inch at a time. It's like a copy machine without the ink, without the paper. Just the ink stays. So this thing, slice by slice, grows. And you actually get that head just like that, the hands just like that. Pixel for pixel, they're the same thing. Good question.
Oh, man.
This is called the roller vader, and the roller vader is just made out of wood and metal, and when you crank it, these steel ball bearings climb up the hill and go down. And then they recycle. This was made out of wood that was discarded at Hallmark, parts of the wood. They used the wood to make puzzles and things, and when they're done with it, they throw it away. So I got to glom onto it. And by the way, this is my grandmother's sewing machine, and I turned it into a scroll saw.
Oh my God.
I have one of these at home if you want to take it.
Oh, well, you guys might make a scroll saw.
Really?
And here on the wall are the plans. This really is the plans, how to make that. I designed everything in the show on the computer.
What made you want to do this piece?
I wanted to do something with marbles that would recycle. And truthfully, I did see stepping movement similar to that. And even the Egyptians used to move water with something like that. But I turned it into a recycling thing with lots more, with gears and parts. But it was a brain buster. It took 3 tries before I got it to work.
Oh, only 3 tries.
And thanks to the use of a computer, I can design things like the Holy Cow. This is Holy Cow, and I can print out the different pieces, print it on paper, glue it to the wood, cut it out, and drill it, and make things like this that work. It has 4 large gears and cogs, and it's made out of Baltic birch and maple. And it has cow spots.
These look like a little angel.
They are. They're angel spots.
Ah,
You can get an A on the test, Mike.
And the little holy cow.
Yeah.
Part of it. And these are subtle things that you don't even tell people.
Well, you try to push a design a little bit further than just so what. So I tried to give it more character. And it works very well. It works so easy that you can just barely push it with your...
Amazing.
Actually, for it to do that is really good because that shows there's hardly any friction in it. So that's Holy Cow.
Once you design this one time, you can actually take the computer and make all these views because it's
Yes.
in there 3-dimensional.
That's how I did that, and it's called rendering. And you can make it transparent so you can see through parts. You can show what's called isocurves so you can see all the lines on it. But the computer made it so that I could make these things, and I could even judge them on the computer. Is it too big, too small? So, and I made a couple prototypes. Everything I prototyped. So, this is Whimsy Picky Tweak, and he's the little mouse that he's a toy maker. And when the toy maker's gone, he looks at his journal and creates parts and pieces from the toy maker's store of cogs and gears and things like that. He makes these things. So that's the story behind it. This is a zoetrope and a praxinoscope. They're old-fashioned toys. I stack 2 together. Usually it's one or the other. And the images are the Great Perfecto and Whimsy Picky Tweak. The great perfecto is an acrobat, and he spins inside, and Whimsby runs. So if you could look down at about that angle on the mirrors, you see that he's animated and running. And if you look straight through those holes about the distance you're at, now you got to kind of study it, but he looks like he's spinning.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the plans for that. Now, I made the plans, I made the characters. I had the Hallmark Creative Workshop actually build this piece for me. And just to show you, thank you, Mike. Just to show you, this is parts and pieces. We dummy everything up once before we make it. This is as fancy as I ever got with my drawings. They're on napkins. And this is the thing that I found at an antique store that got me started. I loved the shape of the wheel. And so I made my wheels for the things that I was designing, just like those wheels. But I would...
Did you make that wheel on the computer?
Yes, this
and
wheel.
Grew it?
Even these handlebars with the horn, that's computer generated. I can do things with the computer that I can't do by hand. I can do it more accurate. And I get to work with engineers. I worked with a man named Ron Carlson who helped me with the gears. I know that if you rub 2 quarters and a dime together, they'll turn like this. I know a little bit about engineering, just a teeny bit. But Ron helped take you might say, the quarter and the dimes and actually turn them into gears that would really make these things work.
Wow.
So these are drawings that the computer generated, and then you take these and you cut the paper out, glue it to a piece of wood, and then cut it out, and you create, this is actually a horse's leg pattern, but that's how I would make these things. I would just have the glue the generated piece, the printout, onto something and actually just make it.
Like right here, you still have the thing glued on it.
Right. And see, this is the rudder of an airplane. So see, it's wood. But it's wise to dummy up everything just once when you make it before you go for the final. So this is parts and pieces. And my wife helped me sew things. So Linda would make patterns for the clothing. And over here is, this is a marionette. This is Hornsby Hoodwinker. He's a flim-flam man. And he can talk. And he's fully movable. But that shows you what the wooden body with the plastic joints looks like when you finish it. But see, he's totally animatable.
And
that is called a controller. This is the stand. I used a artist mannequin's hand to display it, but and that's my own design on a controller. It looks like part violin, part bird's wing.
right. Amazing.
It is.
Thank you. This is Waldo Wingdinger. This is what he looked like on the computer. This is my own body, which you saw earlier, my marionette body. And then this is Waldo Wingdinger here. And he can flap his wings, he can kick his legs, and this is made out of felt that was stretched over a wooden form, felt with glue in it, and you let it dry. And then underneath, I made wooden structures with metal. So he can look at you, look around, and he can kick his feet around.
How did you color what kind of paint did you use?
I actually used, it's called Design Master spray paint, and just sprayed it right. The felt was actually gray, but I sprayed it to give it color, and then all the clothing really is that color. But the head, I used wood tone spray paint and lacquer, and you just get at a distance and it freckles it, and then when you hit it with the lacquer melts the freckles, and it gives a really interesting skin tone, which is something I've never done before.
Perfection.
So you just accidentally discovered that when you...
Yeah, I've never done that before, and I knew I wanted to give it character, and first I thought I wanted it to look like carousel horses or whatever the way the paint is.
But even looking at the little hand here, it's got the same texture as my freckly hand.
Well, people really do. We're not just plastic. We have character in different colors, so that made it look a little more real. And so that's his helmet. That's what that represents and how I designed it. The computer can take one little shape and array it. That's one shape, and it arrayed it like 50 times to make that ridge over his helmet. Now this is a 24-inch marionette that his head is computer generated, his eyes turn, his eyebrows, his eyelids move, his eyebrows will move, his eyes turn to look at you. He's looking at Mike, he's looking at Vicki, and he's looking at me. And he can talk, he can move his hands. And every little sprig of hair was made in a group that you wrap with your fingers, you put glue on the end, and then you drill holes. There's around 100 holes in his head that you put more glue on it and push that little grouping of hair in, and that's how I got that. All these are toys I wish I could have had when I was a kid, but now that I'm an adult, I have an interest of the same interests I used to have when I was little, but I have the abilities of an adult to make things. So you can see the freckles on his hand.
What about the eyeglasses?
Those are one piece of wire just bent and put over his head, and it wraps around his ears. When I was a little boy, I used to have to wear those glasses that hugged your ears. Well, his glasses hug his ears, that's why they won't fall off.
How did you, did you just kind of bend that by hand, or did you make yourself a little...
Took a wooden dowel, wrapped it around it, and another wooden dowel, bent the nose piece and wrapped it around another dowel, and then bent it, and a lot of trial and error, and a lot of try it again. Because everything here didn't really happen the first time, just to let you know. There was a lot of experimentation, and I had 6 months to experiment, and all this was done mostly in that 6-month period.
Are you going to talk about the head neck, about how all these little things make the eyes move? Is that next?
Yeah, this is how I designed the mechanical head on, it's called Rhino, and I made pieces inside that will actually allow the eyeballs and eyelids, eyebrows, and mouth to move. I've wanted to do that ever since I was a kid, ever since I saw Disneyland, and this is my version of this is what I can afford as far as animatronics. What's interesting is you can even see how the teeth are placed in the mouth. And on the computer, you can get inside the mouth, look at the teeth, and see that the teeth aren't hitting each other. And if they are, you can move the teeth back or lower them. So I knew when I made him that his mouth was going to work and that the teeth wouldn't hit. This is my father's favorite thing that I worked on.
It's my favorite thing, too.
He's Scrooge, and see how he even has a sly look, and his eyelids go down as he
He does.
and see he can be sleepy or kind of sinister, but he's not always mean. He can be happy, but he goes right back to me. And I strung him so that he's bent over and more old and crotchety, but his legs he can walk, and this was actually a shirt from a thrift store to make that. And I want to point out my wife, who sewed everything, she even lined the interiors.
I tell you, the combination of the two of you, what I can't...
Husband and
it's
wife's
just
great
so
thing, don't you
awesome.
think?
Yes.
It is awesome.
Yes.
It's
It
unbelievable.
really is.
And this is from a wool feather duster at Hy-Vee.
Oh my God.
And this is Tibetan's ram wool from Tandy leather. This window represents patterns my wife worked on and grouping of fabrics and fur for different characters. The toy maker, the half man, half goat, which you'll see in a moment, and the pirate, which this is a pirate. My wife didn't sew it on an antique sewing machine. We just have that here just for ambiance. Cool. But this is Argus Scuttlebuttons, and he's a pirate, and I gave him blue eyes so he'd be friendly looking, and so he wouldn't really hurt anybody, but he just has just character. He can talk and do everything, and I just had a need to make a pirate. So if this were a story, actually,
Every little boy loves pirates.
Pirates.
Our grandsons.
Actually, I'm glad you said that, because all these are my little boy dreams of characters. So, and I actually got to make every character I wanted to.
That's great.
And This actually shows what the interior of his body looks like. He's got a wooden backbone. These pieces are made from foam curlers that ladies use for their hair. And this is actually foam that I got from a store that people use for camping. It's about 1 inch thick, and I cemented it together and made these shapes. But this is my own design of what's called a controller. It looks like it's part violin and part wing. But thanks to Hallmark, I got to learn these skills making Christmas ornaments, and I tried to take it a step further. So I had to make something bigger than 3 inches. I wanted to make something 24 inches tall, and that's why that happened. Hey, I'll show you some of my very favorite things. This is Otis J. Snozzleblast's one-man band, and when it's cranked, it plays music. And Rich Gilson in the Creative Workshop did all the woodworking and all the metalworking. I designed it all and created the character, and my wife made the clothing. But thank you. If you kind of look at it like a movie, I got to be Steven Spielberg and pick the best actors and actresses. So I had help to make these things, but I got to dream it up.
This is the piece that you showed us over there at the sample table.
It's the handlebars.
And I gotta say something about this little sign that you got on the side.
Well, this sign, if you look at it, which was cut with a laser, and the lettering was done with a laser, it says Otis J. Snozzleblast, and it's one-man band, and it mentions Tracy Icenogle, who performed the music, Gilson Carriage Works, Rich Gilson, who made the woodworking metal, Ron Carlson, who helped me with the gears. He's a great engineer. And Gentry Specialized Instruments. Rodney Gentry is the man who used the rapid prototype machine to make the computer-generated parts. And if you look in the back, you can actually see where the speaker is.
And is that music electronic?
It's-
It actually sounds like it's being pumped by air.
People think it's actually pumped, but actually there's a pedal on an axle, and the pedal hits a switch. Every time the pedal goes around, it tells that switch, 1 more second, 1 more second. So when you crank it, it puts it all together and makes you think that it's... so the illusion is, yeah, it's a pipe organ. But so, you know, and even the notes are etched with a computer, and Brenda Klinke, another engineer, helped get that done. So yeah, I just thought, what's the coolest thing I can give Barbara Marshall? What's the best thing I can make? And so this is one of them, but I've had a couple more. This is Major Spuds and Pops' flying machine. And so he pedals it, his head moves, his legs are moving, and the chains look like they are actually turning things, but I think they're humorous the way they flabba, flabba, flabba. And I tried to make the design of it look like dust is kicking up and moving forward. But he even has a pillow in case he crashes.
I love the pillow.
Oh, I do. Oh, my God.
But once again, the woodwork and metalwork was done by Rich Gilson. But as you look on the walls, this is the plans. This is what I made on the computer. And this is what I made on the computer for the character. So the computer was just invaluable. I never hardly drew anything. I just made it on the computer. And I just had this drive. I'd get up at 5 o'clock and work on it till 10 o'clock at night every day. And I just had to get something done. And given this much time to do that much, you just gotta put a lot of focus. But here I'd like to show you one more, actually 2 more. I'll show you Cranky McClinkencog's kaleidoscope. And originally he cranked, but we need a little repair because there's moisture in this room. A piece of wood swelled up and cracked. But just like those clowns on popcorn machines, he would crank. But this turns and has an image that you can see in 360 degrees. And this is a kaleidoscope. If you look inside, you can actually look in it. So that's Cranky McClinkencog's Colossal Kaleidoscope, and it kind of bounces all around your mouth before you get it out. But I tried to have words that sounded like clickety-clackety, you know, snozzle blast or whatever.
Well, I love the names. The names just make it too. You know, these are great names.
I tried to maximize on everything that I could. The name, the character, the wood, the look of it. It really came out great. I'm really thankful I got to work on these. And here's one more I'd like to show you. This is Benson Chatswell, and he's named after Jack Benson, who could chat well. He could talk well. So I just thought, oh, Benson Chatswell. So I'm left-handed. Well, hello, Mike and Vicki. Welcome to the toy shop. Oh, the toys are so glad to have you here.
Well, we're glad to be here.
Well, it's like I kind of got tongue-tied, you know. I don't talk a whole lot. Hey, Vicki, you want to see how it works? Here, what would you like to say to Mike? You put your hand on that, and put one finger out, and put your finger in there, and that's how you talk. And you can tilt it.
How do you turn his head?
You tilt or tilt like that. It's looking at Mike. So now you can sit.
Oh, check. Oh my gosh, check this out.
See, you can just get wild with it. You can push it in, pull it out.
I know you would just love doing these glasses too. Look at the glasses. I mean, just everything.
That's just a piece of wire to do the glasses. The head is actually flocked, and it was computer generated, but it's flocked to look like cloth.
That is amazing.
And the buttons are nail heads. You want to try it, Mike?
Yeah. I actually snuck in here one morning, and Ken and I went back and forth and had conversations.
Oh, I love it.
It's amazing.
Didn't we, Ken? Don't you remember that? Where are you, Ken?
Yeah. Oh, I don't turn quite that far. Here, I'll get over here some.
There you are.
See,
there you are.
Every day I would go in and he'd give me 5. You know, he'd raise his arm up and I'd go, hey, things are going well.
Oh.
Hey, there's
I'd like to chew this gum.
I'd like to show you 2 or 3 more things.
Okay.
Over here's a workbench that Rich Gilson built. And on the workbench is the Toy Maker's Journal, and this has my plans in it. And it actually has pictures of my home workshop in it at the very back. And it's actually made out of leather, and it says McClinkencog's Toy Shop.
Just awesome.
And Rich Gilson built this workbench, put his tools on it, and these are examples just of things I made just to see if I could make it, just to see if I could do woodworking again. These are when I first started out, and this is called a Geneva gear. 6 turns makes that move around once, and it just lifts the arms up and down.
So these were just practice things.
Just practice.
Kind of get warmed up.
Like, this is how I practiced on Holy Cow, just to see if I could do it or what wasn't right, if the legs would hit wrong. So. And this is an example of not everything works good. This really didn't work good, which I went in total panic, but because of that, I forced myself to figure it out and make something that really did work good. So, hey, there's a couple on the outside I'd like to show you.
Okay.
So this is another one of the 24-inch marionettes, and this is Chester Bumpkins. His mouth is wide open right now because I just have it posed with a wire up there, but he does everything like the other guys do, and he can move his eyebrows. To let you know the way the eyebrows move, there's a string on the outside of his head that when he tilts his head, this loop of string actually pulls out in it, and it says eyebrow go up, you might say, or this one pulls out. So when his head's tilted, it'll raise his eyebrow up like that. And actually, when his head's tilted, his eyelids move also. But so see, his talker's kind of set on open because of the wire. And he's real smart. Like if you ask him what's 2 + 2, it's why half man, half goat? I just wanted to make something that had arms and legs and could talk to you, and it was a little different. So,
Oh, it's great.
let's see, he's animatable. So, and it.
That's terrific. That's and the color. That's even on the costumes and everything. The color schemes are just
you, Mike.
Perfect.
You know, it came out pretty neat. Now, I'll just show you a couple windows real quick. Actually, a computer-generated piece. That mouse is that image there, dot for dot, except for the wooden stick he's holding. Originally, it was going to be a musical toy that when you crank it, he was going to play music. But he's Whimsy Picky Tweak because in committee at Hallmark, they're picky and tweaky.
Ah.
And I know there's a lot of glare on this window, but this actually shows what the character looked like before he had his costume on him. So I actually called him Mr. Ugly for the longest time because he was, but he's Twiggin's Simple Bones now instead of Mr. Ugly. But that shows his head there, hollow, and all the pieces just drop together. It just works out real good.
Wow.
And this is an example of the two body styles, the totally computer-generated piece that has 16 parts, and the partially computer-generated piece that has a wooden body with computer-generated parts. Just to let you know, this is what the characters look through the windows every day. They're right outside of the words Hallmark cards. We're on the 9th floor. And this represents the tools I used more than any other tools, the wire, the fishing string, but I use that little hammer and that little drill and the little pliers all the time. And I rarely measured anything because it was pre-measured on the computer, and when I printed out, it was just smacked out right on.
Wow.
And this last window represents my workshop. That really was where I spent 6 months, and that shows you, holy cow, that's one of the pre-duds that I worked on, or the roughs. But it shows the marionettes in progress. My favorite place on earth is my home workshop.